He made me apologize for everything, so I made him watch me leave without a word. I didn't slam the door. I didn't pack in a fury. I didn't cry. I folded my clothes, wiped down the counters, took out the trash. And when I walked past him on the couch, the same couch where I'd once cried because he forgot my birthday, I didn't say a single word. He looked up, confused. Remote in one hand, chips in the other. "Where are you going?" he asked. I smiled. Not for him. For me? Then I opened the door. And left. No note. No dramatic text. No long-winded explanation. Because I'd already explained everything, for years. And he never really heard me. "You're too sensitive." That's not what I said. "You always take things the wrong way." He turned everything into my fault. Burned the toast? My fault for distracting him. Missed a call? My fault for not reminding him. If I was upset? I needed therapy. If he was upset? I needed to apologize. And I did. God, I apologized for everything. Once, I apologized for crying during a movie. Another time, for asking him not to raise his voice at me in public. I said sorry when he forgot my birthday. When he left dinner halfway through to go check on his friend. When he ignored me for 3 days because he was processing. I started saying sorry just for existing in the wrong mood. But that night, I was done. He didn't know about the apartment I'd been secretly applying for. Or the savings account I opened in my maiden name. He didn't know the lease was already signed. That the bed had already been delivered. That my keycard was on the kitchen counter, tucked beneath a copy of my last apology note, the one he never acknowledged. And when he finally stood up and shouted, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I just kept walking. Because the truth is, you don't owe people closure when they never gave you clarity. You don't owe people an exit speech when they never listened to a damn thing you said while you were still trying to stay. And sometimes, the loudest thing a woman can do is leave in silence. It didn't start with yelling, or cheating, or fists. It started with "Are you sure you want to wear that?" With "I'm just saying, maybe wait before sending that text." With "Your friend group is kinda draining, don't you think?" I thought he was looking out for me. I thought he was protecting me from embarrassment. I thought it was love. He said he liked that I was low drama. That I wasn't like his crazy exes. I wore that like a badge. I stopped telling him when things bothered me. I didn't want to sound crazy. I started second-guessing my friends. Turned down brunch invites because they were bad influences. I stopped wearing red lipstick. Because he said it made me look too available. I deleted old photos from my social media. He didn't ask me to. He just made jokes like, "Wow, you were really showing off back then." And I didn't want to be a problem. I wanted to be the kind of woman a man doesn't leave. So I made myself smaller. Softer. Quieter. I asked for less. Offered more. When he forgot plans, I said it was fine. When he snapped at me in public, I laughed it off. When he gave me the cold shoulder for days, I apologized for being too emotional. My world shrank, one compromise at a time. Until I couldn't remember the last time I said something without editing it in my head first. He didn't hit me. But he rewired me. He didn't insult me. But he dismantled me. Bit by bit. And I thought it was normal. I thought, this is what mature love looks like. You give up things to make it work. But I gave up everything. And he never gave up anything at all. Just took. Smiled while doing it. Told me I was lucky. That other women would kill to have someone who pays attention like I do. And when I flinched during one of his compliments, I realized. I was living in a house where nothing was thrown, but everything hurt. I started waking up tired. Not from lack of sleep. But from the weight. The weight of constantly trying not to upset him. The weight of wondering which version of him I'd get that day. He didn't hit me. But I lived like I was bruised. I tiptoed. I filtered. I performed. And still. It was never enough. If I brought up a concern, he twisted it. You're making something out of nothing. Wow, I can't even speak freely without you crying? If I didn't bring it up, he'd act like I was sulking. What's with the attitude? You've been off lately. It's messing with my energy. I apologized. Again. And again. For my silence. For my words. For being tired. For not being tired enough. He once told me I sighed too much. It's draining, he said. Just be happy. So I started holding in my sighs. Do you know what it means to literally stop exhaling, just to keep the peace? One night, I cooked his favorite meal. Cleaned the whole place. Lit candles. He came home 2 hours late. Didn't call. Didn't explain. Just said, "You're doing the most lately. Makes me wonder what you're trying to make up for." I stared at him. And for the first time, I didn't apologize. I didn't say a word. I sat down at the table. Ate dinner by myself. And that was the moment something shifted. Not a scream. Not a fight. Just silence. But this time, it was mine. After dinner, I went for a walk. No destination. No music. Just me. And my breath. I walked for almost an hour. Didn't text him where I was. Didn't ask for permission to exist outside the house. And when I came back, he was on the couch, arms folded, waiting. You really just left like that? I shrugged. You do it all the time. He rolled his eyes. Don't start. And I thought, I already did. That was the first step back to myself. And I was just getting started. I started small. Reopened an old savings account he didn't know about. Transferred $20 at a time. Coffee, I told him. Lunch with coworkers. I downloaded a note-taking app that looked like a recipe planner. Inside, I tracked everything, times he deflected blame. Patterns in the silent treatment. Moments he said, "Don't make me out to be the bad guy." It wasn't about collecting dirt. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't imagining it. I changed my passwords. Updated my emergency contact. Took a self-defense class on my lunch break. I told a few people what was going on, not everything, just enough. The kind of people who don't flinch when you say, "I think I'm in something I can't explain, but I don't feel safe anymore." One friend offered her couch. Another handed me the number for a realtor. I started applying for jobs in a different city. I started leaving a bag in the trunk of my car, just in case. The more he tightened the grip, the more I made moves in silence. When he snapped at me for looking distracted, I nodded. Sorry. Long day. When he said, "Why are you always so quiet lately?" I smiled. Just tired. And he believed it. Because he thought tired meant defeated. He didn't know tired also meant ready. Ready to walk away. Ready to reclaim the air I hadn't breathed fully in years. The day I found an apartment I could afford, I cried in my car for 20 minutes. Not out of fear. But out of relief. It was small. A studio. No closet doors. Walls that needed paint. But it had a lock that only I had a key to. And that made it perfect. I moved the first wave of things in slowly. Sweaters. Books. Jewelry he never noticed I wore anyway. And when everything was finally in place, I stood in the center of that tiny apartment, barefoot and alone, and whispered, "We're almost free." Because I wasn't rushing anymore. I wasn't running. I was building. And the foundation was finally mine. I picked a Sunday morning. He always slept late on Sundays. It was the one time the apartment was quiet. No lectures. No critiques. No small explosions disguised as sarcasm. I woke up at 6. Made coffee like I always did. Washed the mug. Tied my hair back. Then I started packing. Not in a panic. Just movement. Clean. Intentional. Everything I needed fit into 3 bags. The rest? I left behind. Let him keep the throw pillows he always said were pointless. Let him keep the blanket I bought for our anniversary, the one he never used. Let him keep the empty apology notes I wrote that he never read. I folded my final letter and left it on the kitchen counter. Not a goodbye. Not a breakdown. Just 3 sentences: you made me apologize for everything. Even my silence, even my breath. So now, I'm leaving without a sound. And that will be the loudest thing I've ever done. I took a deep breath. Listened to the sound of him still sleeping. And then I walked out. Not a word. Not a slam. Just the click of the front door. I didn't check my phone for 3 hours. When I finally did, there were missed calls. A text: "Are you serious right now? Then, so you're not even gonna talk about it?" I turned the phone off. Set it on the counter. And opened the window in my new apartment. The breeze felt like oxygen I forgot I deserved. I played music. Louder than I was ever allowed to. I danced. In my socks. With no one watching. And when I finally stopped, I looked around and whispered, "You're not too much. You were just with someone who made you feel like less." That afternoon, I sat in the sun with a notebook. Wrote the words I wished I'd said years ago: "I'm done apologizing for being too loud, too soft, too emotional, too independent, too sensitive, too strong, too anything. I'm not sorry anymore. And I'll never be quiet again." Healing didn't come in one wave. It came in layers. Quiet mornings with no one watching the clock. Music that filled the room instead of tension. Learning to sit in silence without waiting for it to explode. At first, I flinched when things were too calm. Like peace was just a pause between punishments. I kept checking my phone, expecting his name to show up. Half hoping. Half dreading. But eventually, it stopped lighting up. And I started lighting up instead. I went back to the things I loved. Baking. Journaling. Yoga with bad form but good intentions. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in forever. Not because they disappeared. But because I disappeared from them. And when I told them what happened, they didn't say, "Why didn't you leave sooner?" They said, "I'm so glad you got out." I started writing again. Just short sentences at first. Today I didn't say sorry once. Today I took up space. Today I asked for something without apologizing for needing it. I saw a therapist. Told her I didn't know what my voice sounded like anymore. She said, "That's okay. Let's find it together." And we did. One boundary at a time. I stopped justifying myself. Stopped explaining the difference between hurt and harm to people who only heard defensiveness. I made peace with a version of me who stayed too long. She wasn't weak. She was hoping. And hope is not a flaw. But so is knowing when to stop hoping and start walking. I stopped referring to myself as broken. I wasn't broken. I was burned. But I didn't turn to ash. I turned into fuel. And now? I walk louder. Laugh fuller, speak without checking someone's face for approval. Some days I still feel echoes of the old house. Of the woman I had to be just to survive. But I don't live there anymore. I built a new place. Brick by brick. Word by word. And this time? No one gets to tell me when I'm too much. These days, I don't flinch when someone calls me difficult. I ask, difficult for who? Because I'm not here to be easy to swallow. I'm here to be whole. I stopped chasing softness that made me shrink. I stopped calling manipulation passion. I stopped mistaking peace for silence. And I started asking better questions. Not will he love me? But will I still love myself if I stay? I started setting boundaries without flinching. Without disclaimers. Without the "I'm sorry but." Just, no. That doesn't work for me. I won't allow that again. The first time someone raised their voice at me, I didn't explain. I stood. Grabbed my keys. And left. Because now I don't stay to fix. I stay when I'm safe. I don't earn love by minimizing myself. I am the love. And if someone can't handle that, They're not my person. I also forgave myself. For staying too long. For dimming too low. For whispering in rooms where I should have roared. I look back sometimes. But not with regret. With gratitude. Because that woman, the one who tried so hard to be liked, to be good, to be enough, she survived it. And gave me the chance to become someone who doesn't settle anymore. I wrote a new story. One where I'm not the background character in someone else's narrative. One where I don't apologize just to keep the room calm. One where my presence is a full sentence. And I don't need anyone's permission to finish it. So if you've ever felt like you're too much, if you've ever been made to believe that you should shrink to fit someone else's comfort, let me say it loud, just once, so you don't forget, you are not too much. They were just too small. And if you're still figuring it out, still untangling the guilt from the grace, just remember, you don't owe anyone the quiet version of yourself. Not again. Not ever.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.